and welcome once more time to my YouTube channel. I'm quite excited today. I've been waiting to do this for quite a long time, and I now have the opportunity to do so. So I'm very pleased. Well, what is it what I'm doing? Let me explain. You might notice in front of me here is a rather beautiful array of lovely gadgets and pedals and stuff. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to be building a pedal board. Now, I've had dozens of pedal boards over the years, I've had hundreds of pedals and all that, but I'll be honest with you, they've all been kind of chucked together, they've all just been kind of, that'll do. What I really wanted to do this time was do it properly. So first, let's talk about the kit itself. What kit did we actually get to do this? I mean, all of this really starts with the pedal board. So, having had a good reasonable guess at the size pedal board I would have needed, I got this one. But this is a used board that I got in very good condition with its bag and all that stuff. Already Velcroed, as you can see. You know, we're not going to have to do anything there, that's good. And this is the Pedaltrain Pro, which is one of the bigger boards that they do. I believe it's 32 inches by about 16, 18 inches, something like that. But the bigger the better is what they say. And if you're not sure, just ask your mum. I've got a couple of these. These are Boss Solderless patch cables. Each one of these kits has 24 plugs in. Yeah, 24 plugs in, making 12 cables each. So there's 24 cables there. Pardon me, hang on. My wife's cooking chili downstairs, and the spices, the aromatic spices, have found their way into my nostrils from 3 floors away. Jesus. Some other little ancillary bits and pieces. I got these. You can't probably make these out too well, but this is a big pack of cable ties and little sticky back cable clips. The idea being, when we get into this underneath, if I get any loose cable hanging around, I'll be able to put a little sticky back cable clip nearby and then cable tie the loose cable to a cable clip and just neaten it all up and all that. But this is cool. Shout out to Pedal Patch. This is the last thing that came in. Luckily this arrived literally 5 minutes before I started filming this, so quite pleased with that. What this is, pardon me, is a little bracket there, and you can see there's 4 holes on that bracket, some screw holes that let you mount it to a thing. And then it comes with these bad boys. Now what are these? These are basically just female to female jack sockets, but locking ones. And the idea with these is you build a little patch bay for your board, and this one's got 4 sockets like this. With this, what you can do is you can build this onto the side of your pedal board, back of your pedal board, wherever you want to put it. And then connect the back of it to your pedals, and then you're connecting your guitars and your amps and all that to this nice solid locking robust socket or patch panel, as you want to call it. So you're not actually, if you're running about with your guitar and your guitar cables trailing and dragging and moving around, you're not actually ragging on the pedal on the board. You're anchored directly to the board itself. And last but not least, on the side of the sort of you know, ancillary stuff, it was the power supply. Now this is a big deal actually for a pedal board. I went with this one. It's the Truetone One Spot CS12 Pro, or whatever it's called, right? It's about the biggest one that they do. Let's have a little look. What's in the box? Okay. So in the box is the actual power supply unit itself. It's powered by a kettle lead type connection, but then it's got all of its outputs there at the front. And there's a whole range of these, and I'll tell you, there's one main reason why I picked this particular unit, and that's because of this little red pedal. This little one here. This is a Digitech Whammy WH1. Let me show you closer up. There you go. Beautiful thing. The original first version Whammy WH1. But Digitech, in all their wisdom, at the time looked at all the other pedals out there and went, everybody appears to be powering their pedals using 9 volts DC. So I tell you what, why don't we make ours AC? and then whoever uses our pedal will have to also have our stupid power brick to power it, and won't be able to use any other power supply at all. Clever people like the guys at Truetone figured out that, you know, this is quite a popular pedal. There may be some other pedals out there that have this similar sort of issue. So why don't we build a really cool power supply that has all the options on there for normal pedals using AC, using DC. But why don't we also stick a little socket on the end, specially for stupid AC powered pedals. And there they go, right there, that little one with the red label on it. That is specifically for pedals that use AC. Every option you could possibly want on there. Unfortunately, this only has at most 12 power outputs, and having counted, I think we're at about 15 or 16 pedals here that could use power. So we're going to have a little bit of a think about things here, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But the good thing about this is it also comes with, well, first off, it also comes with lots of cabling, all different length cables to get you from, you know, one place to another. And on top of that, as well as your power cable, they've given you these brackets. So whoever at Truetone went, you know what, most people out there are using Pedaltrain pedal boards, so by default out the box this thing comes with mounting brackets compatible with any Pedaltrain board, or certain Pedaltrain boards I think. Okay, so let's talk pedals then. One of the things that obviously comes into consideration when you're making a pedal board is how you plug everything in, and this seems to be a bit of an endless debate out there in the world of guitar players as to which order you should have everything in. Pedal order it's referred to as. Now there are some sort of norms, standards shall we call them, that are sensible to adhere to, and I will be doing so. But let's have a little bit of a talk about what they are. And for me there really only seems to be two hard and fast rules. The first one is fuzz pedals. Everybody likes fuzzy guitar, it sounds amazing when it's done properly. And typically most fuzz pedals, they don't like sitting behind other pedals, and specifically they don't like sitting behind anything with a buffer on it. What they do like is they like to see the clean high impedance output signals directly from the guitar with nothing in between. To that end you should always typically have your fuzz pedal, and in my particular instance I've gone with the Band of Gypsies edition fuzz face. It's a fuzz face. This is actually a 3 transistor fuzz, but it's a wonderful circuit. Basically, as far as I understand, this particular one is based on the Octavio circuit, just without the octave. So wonderful, lovely Jimi Hendrixy styly fuzz. But this is going to have to go somewhere on my board where it gets the signal straight from the guitar. So that's going to be interesting to figure out exactly where we mount this, and then how we route the cable in for it. Rule sort of number one when it comes to pedal order: put your fuzzes right at the front. So the other sort of hard and fast rule, which I would recommend people adhere to, which I'm going to adhere to, is to put time-based effects at the end of your chain, or even better, in the effects loop of your amp. And we're talking there about reverbs, delays, tremolos, that sort of stuff. And the reason being is simply they repeat whatever they hear. So if you put those in front of something like a gain pedal, what you're doing is you're creating those repeats and sending them into the gain pedal, and then the gain pedal is distorting or overdriving or whatever all the repeats as well. What you really want is to have whatever the signal happens to be going into that time-based unit, and then the repeats being created based on the tones going in, the sound going in. Let's kind of run through where I'm going with this and have a look at what pedals I've actually chosen. So okay, coming in the front end then, if we think about the guitar coming in, as I mentioned, Nice little Band of Gypsies fuzz face there. Such a cute little thing. Look at that. And I have this, which is a Fulltone Clyde standard wah. Now I went with this for a couple of reasons. One, I really like Fulltone stuff. Two, Robin Trower uses Fulltone stuff and I love Robin Trower. Three, this has a relatively average footprint for going on a pedal board. But more importantly than this, this thing has a really good buffer built into it, and it's switchable. You can switch the buffer in and out, and then you can also adjust the buffer level. Very closely following that behind, I'm going to have my wonderful Digitech Whammy pedal, and I can't speak highly enough about these things. I absolutely adore this pedal. Now you might already think, oh, he's missing something here, and why hasn't he mentioned a tuner? Because tuners always go right at the beginning, right? Well, do you know what? I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to do something a bit different. I have a tuner, but I'm not going to put it right at the front. After this pitch affecting device, I have this pitch affecting device. This is the Electro-Harmonix pitch fork. Now you might think, well, why is he having this as well as the Digitech Whammy? Well, there's a good number of reasons for that. With other type pitch shifters, and you know, as far as I understand this and playing with it, certainly sounds like it. The Whammy is monophonic, so it takes whatever the strongest part of the signal is that it can hear, and affects that, and it kind of glitches out if it tries to do more than that, which is one of its appeals. The Whammy, that's why people like it. It has that weird glitchiness to it. But if you want that real sort of glistening, chorused sort of pitch shifted loveliness, you really need a polyphonic pitch shifter. So that's what this is for. And right, so gain stages then. What have we got? Well, starting with the front end of it, this beautiful Echoplex preamp, selected because just look at it, looks amazing, right? One of the best designed pedals I've ever seen from a looks point of view, from a aesthetic, that's the word I'm looking for, aesthetic point of view, but built around a phenomenal circuit from the original sort of Echoplex delay unit that had this preamp built into it. It's rattling. And basically now they've split this into two pedals. You can buy the full delay version, or you can buy just the preamp version, and it's an absolutely brilliant clean boost, and it kind of colours your tone just in the right ways, very, very subtly. Next in line we've got a tried and true and tested green monster, the Ibanez TS9, and I'm going to use this the same way Stevie Ray Vaughan used his, which is volume all the way up, gain all the way down, tone just doing a little bit of stuff for you in the mid band. Then I wanted to be able to push my gain into a more classic rock, overdriven crunch sort of sound. So to cover that off, I got this Wampler Tumnus Deluxe. Now there's a lot to be said about this, and again could be used as a somewhat clean boost, just to add that sparkle to the overall tone, because you know, if anybody knows, if you don't know about this one, this is effectively a clone of the Klon Centaur, the fabled, famous, legendary Klon Centaur. But if you talk to the maker of the Klon Centaur, or anybody who knows him personally, they will all attest to the fact that the best use for the Klon was as a proper overdrive pedal, really pushing the gain. So that's what I'm going to be using this for. That kind of takes care of the whole sort of bluesy, clean to bluesy to sort of classic rocky type sort of gain sounds. But on odd occasions I will want to jam along to a bit of Master of Puppets. Up to this point those gain stages aren't really going to get us there. And I've got a 6-band EQ, and that, like I said, is going to be set to get me a clean tone with a high output guitar on the amp that I'm using. The amp itself will be EQ'd initially to get a good sound on like a clean Strat or a clean sort of Les Paul, but if I want to plug like a high output active pickup type guitar in and get like a more sort of metal friendly clean tone, I'm going to EQ that in using this. And then when I want to hit the heavy stuff, I wanted a distortion pedal that was going to get me into that territory, and the Rev G3. Now I'm rapidly falling in love with this pedal. Just the tightest, nicest, most what's the word? There just seemed to be more going on in the tone. Like you could hear harmonics, you could hear overtones, you could hear all sorts going on in there. Like you just lost in other distortions in all the gain. With this, you got the gain, but you also, and you crunch, but you also got a tightness, and you also got a colouring of the tone that just sounded really, really nice. And when I need to do the metal thing, both of those pedals will go on, the EQ, and when I need it, the distortion. And that's going to be my metal sound. So that's pretty much our gain stages done. We've done our fuzz, we've done our dynamics, we've done our gain stages, and we move off now into modulation. Now, over the years, I've had countless modulation pedals. I've had, you know, every type of modulation going, and I'll be honest, there were always pedals that just sat on my board, taking up a whole lot of space. If I had one for every type of modulation effect, I might have a phaser, a flanger, a univibe, chorus. You know, there's like 4 pedals there, and they all take up space, and they all take up their own connection to a power supply, and they all take extra cables to connect them all up together. And I'll be honest with you, you know, they've always been that group of pedals that I use the least. It's nice to have them. Every now and then you want a bit of chorus, you want a bit of phaser, you want a bit of univibe, you want something in there. I'll be honest with you, nobody really wants flange. And I looked around and I thought, and I saw that there's actually now quite a number of really good options in terms of getting all your modulation into one pedal. And I looked at all the different options there was. There's the Boss MD200, and then its bigger brother, the MD500. There's also the Wampler Terraform as well, that does that, brings lots of modulation type effects into one box. And there's an Eventide option as well, the Mod Factor I think it's called. Lots of different choice actually, and all really good, and all kind of similarly sort of priced. And so I went with this one, the Strymon Mobius. I mean, it's the coolest fucking name as well, isn't it, really? Built in the USA, Strymon Mobius. So that's all my modulation taken care of. And then moving on to final sort of section on the board was the time-based effects. And I don't really need a lot in that. The amp itself has got a really nice reverb, and I kind of prefer using amp reverb over pedal reverb. But that being said, it's also nice to have options in that area. And I'll be honest with you, I couldn't see any better than this thing. This is the Keeley Caverns delay and reverb pedal. Yeah, the great thing about Keeley pedals and Robert Keeley is he thinks of really good things that perhaps other people don't think about, and you always have to open his pedals up to get a look on the inside, because typically you'll find stuff in there that you didn't even realize the thing did. And if you, it's absolutely true with this. If you open this up, it has a bunch of switches inside that do different things, and one of them is there's a couple of switches, one for the delay, one for the reverb, that change whether or not you get tails. And not only that as well, but although this thing only has single input and single output, they're actually stereo. They're TRS as far as I understand, and there's a switch inside here which lets you turn this into a stereo pedal, where both of those single inputs and outputs become stereo inputs and outputs, and so you can basically separate out the reverb and delay and have independent inputs and outputs on them. Absolutely brilliant. Somewhere you might have figured out that there might be one pedal in all of this that I'm missing, is a compressor pedal, and yes, I'm thinking about that, and probably will throw one in here at some point if I feel it will do a job for me, and if I do go down that road, it will be a Keeley. Okay, so last but not least is a couple of other pedals. I mentioned earlier tuner. might go somewhere near the beginning, might go right after the fuzz, might go right at the end, haven't decided. So last couple of pedals then is this. It's very old actually, it's one of the original Ernie Ball VPs or volume pedals. Anyway, last but not least is this thing. The orange amp detonator. This is effectively a very straightforward ABY switch, and that will be wired again straight into the patch panel, and that's pretty much it for pedals. So here's the board, and I've got it upside down at the moment, and we're going to start this whole thing by looking at how we're going to mount all the sort of ancillary stuff, like the pedal patch, patch bay, and the power supply. And then we're going to go on from there. So I think I'm going to do the pedal patch doodah first. So I'm going to have to decide exactly where about I want this to be, and let's get the little mounting bracket out and have a look at where we're going to put this, because the mounting bracket itself, like you can see here, has that little L-shaped situation going on, and this bit here is where we're going to have to. Those three screws there, we're going to have to put this. I think it's going to best go on the sides really, where it's free and clear. The board doesn't have any holes, so we're going to have to drill some. Got our cordless. Let's have a little look at the screws and stuff that come with it. I'm guessing, yeah, we've got some self-tappers here. So if we make a hole just big enough, we then get the self-tappers through, we're in business. Let's get one hole drilled. We're all lit up nicely now, we can see what we're doing. So yeah, let's get the rest of these holes drilled. Alright, so there you go. You can see we've got a little mounting bracket on the side of there now, nice and flush. And now we've got to mount the little locking sockets to that. Each one has two little screws in the front there. Right, so that looks, check that out, that looks fucking awesome, right? So we got all our little locking jack sockets on there now. We're going to have two of them going out to the amps, we're going to have one for the guitar going in. We are going to have a spare. These kits came in like pairs or fours, so may as well have all four on there. I mean, the great thing about this is at some point, if I really wanted to, I could go the 4-cable method. The next bit obviously is to mount the power supply. I'll have a look at where we want that to go. Bit of a knack to mounting these one spots to the bottom of a pedal train. Doesn't want to go flush with the bottom of the board really, it wants to go on its own sort of angle. So the back of it, where the actual socket, the power socket is, sits right between the gap in the back of the pedal board there, which means you kind of end up with it on a bit of an angle. So I'm going to mount the brackets to the actual thing and then start looking at where this needs to be. Seriously, my fucking battery's run out moments before my last two holes are drilled, so I'm going to have to give this a little bit of a charge. So while I'm waiting for my battery to charge so I can drill those last two holes, I'm going to start velcroing everything up. The board itself, whoever had this before me was very kind enough to velcro the whole board out with the loop side. For those of you who are not Velcro experts, the two sides of Velcro are referred to as hook and loop. So I'm going to Velcro up my other pedals, and hopefully by the time I've done all that, I'll have enough charge in the battery to finish my two holes. Right, so a little bit of time has passed since earlier, and I now have a working drill, fully charged. In the interim, I've done a little thing, and I've put Velcro on all the pedals, and I've kind of started to lay them all out where I think they should probably go. So, like I said, everything's Velcroed on. What that means now is everything's kind of on the board there. Can you see? There's a good look at it. Kind of looking how it's going to look when it's kind of finished. Now, so I'm just going to take everything back off, get the power supply wrapped up, finished, and then we're going to start the cabling process. So we'll talk about that shortly. So, alright, so there it is. Power supply mounted, brackets drilled in, and you can see through the back there, there's the hole for the power socket for the kettle lead to go in. So I'm just going to offer up the kettle lead, make sure that actually goes in. Yes. Yes, that's perfect. Alright. Okay, so we're back, and our next step really is to start putting the pedals on the board and start actually cabling them up. So I'm going to get into one of these and have a look at what we got going on and how that needs to work. Busting this thing out, we've got these little gold tipped plugs, and the plugs themselves are kind of designed so that when you shove your cable in, they can either come straight out, or you can kind of angle it round and bend it down 90 degrees, and you can have like a 90 degree right angled cable. You might also notice there's a little hole there for a grub screw, and that's how you basically lock this whole thing down. The idea is you cut the cable nice and straight, you shove it down into the hole, you tighten down your grub screw. The grub screws come in this little bag. They're going to be very easy to lose, so I'm going to be very careful extracting grub screws out of this bag. Just a quick word on approach here. I don't know how all the professional pedal board builders do this, but my approach is that earlier on, obviously, getting everything Velcroed down, I kind of got myself an idea of the general layout, where I want things. I'm basing the layout entirely on where I feel would be the most convenient place for each pedal, not necessarily related directly to order, but just thinking, you know, that's probably the best place for that, and that's what I'm going to stick to. But in terms of wiring this thing up, at least to start with, I'm just going to take this one pedal at a time, and fingers crossed, all the cables will come together nicely. I'm going to do some continuity testing with the multimeter as I go, just to make sure that the cables are looking good. But otherwise, this is just going to be a case of plodded away, taking it bit by bit, and hopefully we won't have too many problems along the way. Okay, so there we go. We've made our so there we go. We've made our first cable, and it looks like a proper cable. All right, so we've got our multimeter just to test continuity. So let's see if our grounds are sorted on this. Let's say the ground's good. What about our tips, which is the all important for the signal? Good. Raggling the cable around, doesn't seem to be any issues there. So I would say first cable, good. So if we continue our method as we go, we should be fine. Right, so we're back and we've done with all our signal cabling. We still have all the power cabling to go, but I wanted to get the signaling stuff done first. And I thought I'd just give you a quick run through of how that went using the Boss Solderless cable kits. Absolutely brilliant. Went together really nice and easy. Those cables all got put together, and none of them had any issues whatsoever. Tested each one as I went on, and yeah, it just worked really nice. So I thought I'd give you a quick look around the board close up, so you can see what's actually going on there. So we have the patch panel there starting off. At the back there we've got the guitar input going into this little socket here. From the back of that we're going to our fuzz face, into the fuzz, and then out of the fuzz we're going down to the in of the wire there. Coming out of the wire we're going to the in of the whammy. From the out of the whammy we're going up to the in of the pitchfork, out of the pitchfork into the tuner, out of the tuner, back down to the input of the noise suppressor, and then out of the send on the noise suppressor into our gain stages there. So we've got our clean boost, Echoplex there, going in there, the Echoplex straight into the tube screamer via a little tiny patch cable, and then we have the tube screamer into the Tumnus. You can see there, nice little cable just poking around the corner. The Tumnus into the EQ coming out into the rev, and then the rev back down to the return of the noise suppressor there. So out the noise suppressor, we're then going into the in of the Mobius. The out of the Mobius is then going to the caverns, and then we have the out of the caverns going down to our volume pedal, and the out of the volume pedal going into the input of our ABY switcher, and then we have those two outputs from the ABY running back down here, and you probably can't quite see it, or maybe you can there. Can you see on the back of those patch panel cables, we've got the ABYs going into those two end sockets at the top end to go for outputs to go to our amp. So we have this middle one here spare. We're not doing anything with it at the moment, but we could choose to at some point. So there's a little bit of tidying up to do underneath, but otherwise we're in good shape. I want to get now all the power cabling sorted out, and then we're pretty much done. Then it'll just be a case of tidying up the cables as much as we can, so it all looks nice and neat under the board. Right, so we're all done with the power wiring. We've got everything connected now to the power supply unit. Full disclosure, there was a compromise that I had to make with this, and that was that the number of outlets on the PSU wasn't quite enough to power all of the pedals. So what have I had to do? Well, I've had to incorporate what's called a daisy chain. So let's get a little look at the board close up, and you can and I'll explain what that means exactly. So here we are, here's the board, and you can see now everything's got a power connector connected to it, running the cable running off somewhere or other. There's a nice red one connected to the whammy. There we go, all got power, everything's got power, la 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 la, all very good. But yes, we had to make a bit of a compromise, and that was where we needed to daisy chain a handful of them together, because we just didn't have enough outlets. And where I've done that is with the Fuzz, which then connects to the tuner, which then connects to the pitchfork, which then connects to the Sentry. And I've tried to do it with a bit of thought in mind that at least a couple of these pedals aren't really affecting tone, and most of them will be off most of the time, so we should be okay there. So really there's only two things left to do, and those two things are to, of course, tidy up all the cables underneath, and we're going to get a look at that in a little minute. But right now we're at that moment of truth where we can power this thing up and just see exactly what's going on. So as I like to say in my videos, without further ado, why don't we see if all this effort has paid off and it's all working. So why don't we dim the lights, and then maybe we can see a little better about what's going on. So first things first, Alexa, activate dog shack mode. Okay, and then so here is our pedal board, and we're all wired up, and so why don't we fire that up as well. Alexa, activate the guitar rig.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm seeing lights, I'm seeing life. My Mobius is telling me to call the cops. Thanks for that advice. Well, I'm seeing lights, so let's have a little go around and see what's working. So, Fuzz, seems to be life there, very good. Tuner, yes, we've got some life to the tuner. The pitchfork's already on, so we can turn that off. The whammy's already on, so we can turn that off. Going around here, we've got the Echoplex. Whoa, that's like a fucking beacon in the night. That's ships could sail by that light. Flipping heck, that's bright. Okay, well that works. Tube screamer, yeah, tube screamer comes on. Tumnus, yeah, again, bright. Jesus, Brian, what are you doing? Trying to blind me. The rev, beautiful blue light there comes on. The 6-band EQ, oh look at that. That is tasty. The Sentry there is already on. So that's pretty cool. And yes, our Mobius seems to have sprung to life. It's telling us, yeah, to call the cops. What else does it say? Silver circles. That's not what that means. Call the cops. Okay, must be some name of a preset. And then our caverns, key caverns. We've got the delay side of things seems to be working. The reverb side seems to be working. Okay, so last exception on this board here is this orange ABY switcher. Actually comes with its own battery, and given that all the battery is doing is powering this little LED, I didn't even bother putting a power supply connection to this one. Might do in the future at some point. Didn't seem like much point right now. Let the battery do its job for a bit. All it's doing is lighting that LED. Probably run out at some point, after which will I need a light to tell me which one? Probably not. I'll be able to hear it, so we'll see about that. This didn't need a power supply, it's just a volume pedal. Passive. This didn't need a power supply, it's just an expression pedal. I haven't even really talked about this yet. We've connected this to the Mobius in the hope that it will do a thing for us. We'll have to test and see. But yeah, if we just turn everything on, let's make sure that we're not having any issues there. Yes. So yes, looks wonderful. There's no light on the wire, unfortunately. So yeah, we're done there. Everything seems to be working alright, at least it's getting power. We haven't yet tested the full through signal, but we did continuity testing on all of the patch cables, so we're pretty confident that that's okay. Before we get to that though, we're going to do a little tidy up underneath with some cable management, get some cable clips and some cable ties involved. And just neaten that up. I'm not going to bother showing you that because it's pretty boring and mundane. But yeah, let's shed a little bit of light on the subject. Alexa, activate light mode.
Okay.
Okay, and we're back to daylight. So, yeah, I'm going to get this flipped up and tidy up underneath. And then we'll give it a proper signal test into an amp and see what's going on. And then I can begin the long and arduous process of twiddling knobs. Okay, so we're all done, and that was quite a successful little project, really. Everything went together reasonably well. Parts involved were fantastic, all the pedals were really cool, but it was the extra little bits that really impressed me, to be honest. The patch panel from the pedal patch guys, the power supply unit and how that mounted and everything, and the solderless patch cable kit from Boss. They were brilliant. So all that really remains was for me to, I can't even speak, plug stuff in and see if it actually works. Put an amp on one end, plug a guitar in the other, and away we go. So without further ado, Les Paul, standard, just plug in and have a bash and see what we've got. By the way, I haven't twiddled with any of the knobs or anything like that, not in any real sense. Just put them where I thought they might want to be. So as I work through it, we get what we get. So yes, so starting off, just down the right hand side there, you can see where the cabling's going in and out. I've got two cables coming out towards the rear there, going to the amps, and of course my guitar lead going in, but staying out of the way nicely, which is cool. And at the moment, what have we got turned on? I think the EQ there's turned on. I haven't mic'd this amp up or anything, so what you're hearing is just the room noise through the camera, so apologise if it doesn't sound amazing, but that's not really the idea over here. But anyway, so yeah, we've got a bass clean sound on the amp. Alright, so nothing. So let's have a little look at the wire. Great, sounds great. Of course, though, the first in line was the fuzz. So let's see what the fuzz gives us. That sounds really nice. I'm very, very pleased with that. Of course, we've got the tuner at the back there. See if we're in tune. Yes, we are. Very good. That mutes everything. We've got our little pitchfork there as well. So church organ type goody goodness. So we've got our noise suppressor there. I mean, it's not really. You can see the light change between green and red there. It's red when it's gating, and green when it's letting signal through. But on clean, I mean, it's not really doing anything for us. So then, of course, we had the whammy, the Digitech Whammy. Doesn't really do much for me on a clean channel, but if you get a bit of dirt going on, then that sounds phenomenal. So let's have a little look what's going on here. We've got our Echoplex preamp clean boost there. So let's hear our clean again. Just adds a bit of warmth, a bit of wideness. It's very nice. We start to get a little bit of break up there with that engaged. Next we have our tube screamer. This is set so the gain is all the way off, the volume's all the way up, the tone's just giving a little bit of boost. It's taking us right into that break-up territory. See that with a wire. That sounds absolutely delicious. With the boost. Very nice. Back to our clean. Let's have a bit of the Tumnus on its own. Nice grainy, gainy crunch there. Whoa, a bit of boost on that. sounds really nice. So the next thing we got is the EQ there, and that really, like I said, is meant to give me a better clean tone for a metal sort of sound. Which combined then with the high gain distortion just leave me alone. So anyway, there you go, bit of metal loveliness there. So moving on, we have our Mobius doing wonderful things with its modulation type effects. What have we got here? Oh, it's a bit of an auto wah. Let's see what we can do with that. Whoa, bit of boost on it. So yeah, bit of Digitech goodness there. Anyway, nice. What else can it do? Alright, it does all sorts, this thing. Let's bank down. Bank 1. Whoops. Whoops, bank 3. What's in bank 3? Random, apparently. Tremolo sort of effect. Anyway, all really cool, that stuff. And then we got our caverns, so a bit of delay. It's got a bit of a chorusy sort of detuney type effect on the delay there. Okay, does what it does. That needs some tweaking, that. Good. And the reverb. Oh. reverb's a bit spacey and a bit weird. Alright, so we've got some tasty tones to play around with there. Really pleased. So anyway, thank you for watching. I did that clap again. I always do that clap and then I surprise myself and then I don't know what to say straight after. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching. This was a bit of a journey of exploration, shall we say, for me, doing this. First time I've ever put this scaler board together using these sort of components, you know, doing it properly with the patch panels and the solderless kits, cable kits. And so many pedals in one go. But mission accomplished. Really pleased with the results. I'll be honest with you, there was one slight mistake that I made in all of this, which I don't know if you'll have spotted, and perhaps I might leave it to see if anybody can figure out where exactly I went wrong in the routing and things. And there's some correction that I need to make. Yes, I'll leave it up to you to guess. So feel free to leave a comment if you think you know. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you tell other people and share this on and send it around the world and get everybody else to subscribe and all that good stuff. So thank you very much and good evening.